I also got, told you what they call the Rebbe iPod. And there are all the Ayin Aleph classes that we had.
Ayin Aleph?
Yeah. So I was listening in and saying, oh, what did we know 5 years ago? It's very instructive. It wasn't that bad, really. And then Golan asked a question, like a scientist would. And that's where we explained that everything that exists is a very sharp and clear thing. Even after it's created, its real presence is the presence of its creator. Nothing has a presence. Even if it does not recognize its creator, it exists because of the presence of the creator. That's a very, very sharp opinion. So, on the way home, I was listening to that iPod. What?
If we could have that in mind every second, it would be ideal. That everything exists because of the presence of the Creator.
Are you ready? Oh, you're ready. Okay. Okay, so we are on the second line from the bottom. All agree? We are.
Which page?
Yudalit.
Second line from the bottom.
Right. At the end of the line. He explains the process of Rotzu B'Shuv, the Aveda B'Rotzu B'Shuv. That within the Rotzu there is a Shuv, and within the Shuv there is a Rotzu. The Rotzu is running out upwards to the source, to the Elokus. Why is he running? What causes him what causes this one? Because he is so deeply touched by the kiruv, by the kiruv of a lakus, that is expressed in the fact that it is mislabish in the world. We discussed the whole thing of Islapshus quite extensively. And in a word, that he wants to give you the benefit of his presence, but not to overwhelm his presence as it is at his level, of his presence as it is expressed in your presence, in your mitzvahs, in your world, within the slapshus. And then furthermore, to Torah mitzvahs, where the effect of Torah mitzvahs is that there is actual gili elokus in the world. As we explained, mitzvahs are performed in a worldly form context, not context in terms of its significance, but in terms of how do you perform a mitzvah. Everything has to be has to fit in a worldly manner of action. How do you put on tefillin? The only way to put on tefillin is the way the world allows you to put on tefillin. You have to have a strap it to your arm. You don't just take tefillin and touch it to your arm and it stays there, miraculously. Everything is within world parameters. And that's how the mitzvah is designed, how the mitzvah is. And through that, there is Gil Ilkus in the world. Because the mitzvah is in itself is a godly concept, or a godly statement. And it is brought down and it is made on a worldly level. The mitzvah is a statement, like feeling a statement that the Hashem Echad on the head and Hashem Echad on the arm. But how is it affected? Not forget about your mind, forget about your heart, just know about the Meibush, just be bottled for this. No, in your heart, mind, in your heart, on the physical level. So this is the Gili Alakus that is effectuated through mitzvahs. Mitzvahs means that the Eibush himself stands in and says, here's how I'm going to be with you. If you do this mitzvah, you do this mitzvah. Therefore, this evokes a tremendous ahava, particularly as he explained when he reflects on the greatness of the Ayin Seif, which we discussed also in this context. So that brings about an enormous ahava. Right here, this is the ahava where you experience the godly presence in the world. This is the shuv. Okay, so we are the bottom, the end of the second line from the bottom. V'zeh b'chinas hashuv she'achar horotzu. This is the shuv that comes after the rotz. The hiyois, where, as a result of the fact, that in the state of rotzu it is sheroitz begili ho'elakus, that he wants the gili of the elakus, ulodovko boy, and he wants to cleave to the Elokus. We pointed out Ho Elokus. What is the Ho Elokus? Ho-Elokus is the pshat, the Elokus that is identifiable in the world. The Elokus element that is recognized in the world. Because it comes to us through the world. But we are focusing on the Elokus element rather than the world element. Ho-Elokus. Then the world element becomes only like a keli. So for clarity's sake, we'll take a simple moshel. Now we speak about a table. A table has its form. And one observes the table and says, oh, this is a beautiful table. It's built very nicely and all that. That is the world element in the table. This is the keli, the means by which you make a table in a physical environment. What is a table? A table represents a phenomenal human element, a neshama element. The superior neshama element. Chofetz b'ho-Elokus means he wants to cleave and to recognize only that element. This is the this is what happens in the shuv, so to speak. Here is Elokus that is present right here in our world.
What's the Rotzai aspect of it?
What's
the Rotzai?
The Rotzai was before. The Rotzai is when he wants the Gili Elokus. He wants the Gili Elokus. And then when it comes in the shuv, so what is in the shuv? The shuv is not that he's coming back into keli. He's coming back and to recognize the Elokus in the keli.
So the Rotzai is just wanting Elokus without keli, with wanting Elokus, but not on his own parameters.
Right.
So
right. So therefore, in the shuv, what is his focus? The Rotzai. In the shuv is the Rotzai. I said, oh, there's the Gil Elokus right here in the shuv. This is what done. In the Rotzai, in the shuv, there is a Rotzai.
If that's the case, so that he's focused even on the ho-Elokus in the shuv, why does it dissipate? Because he's still, the Elokus is, he's focused on the Elokus on his level. In other words,
we'll now he's gonna he was a complete roundaround, okay? He wants the Gili Elokus, Uldovko boy. Okay, let's go on page 12. Validei hatero mitzvahs nase hagili de Elokus. So Tero mitzvahs, the Gili Elokus is actually effectuated. V'nidbak alidei zeh beho Elokus, and therefore he is nidbak, he cleaves, he is connected thereby in the Elokus, in the Elokus as it expresses itself in the world. But he's focused on the Elokus element. Because this is the shuv after the Rotzai. So he continues to focus in on the Elokus. It's not the shuv that he goes back into world for world's sake. He goes back to the world because he wants there should be Gili Elokus in the world. So he is focused on the Elokus, but in the Elokus as it is in the world. So now we'll have the synopsis of the thing. V'im hayois. Im hayois. That all this we're talking about in the Shuv state. The old sheho ahavo atzmo, that the ahavo itself. So ahavo we said is rotzu, and yiro is shuv, and this is the seder aveda in aveda ahavo v'yiro. She says like this: Ima yosheho ahavo atzma, the element of ahavo itself. Ahavo means that he wants to cleave to Elokus. This is the rotzu element. He b'bchinas dveikus is in a dveikus manner. Shenidbak beho Elokus, where he is actually nidbak, attached to the Elokus.
So I'm sorry, you said ahava is ratzu, and what is shuv?
Yira.
Year.
Let's see if we can go through the whole thing over here. Then maybe go back. But the ahava itself is dveikus be'olokus, which means he is into Elokus. He's not into world at all. Shaharei, since that, alidei ha'hizbonunus ve'ha'amokas hadas, because as a result of the hizbonunus that he described earlier, ve'ha'amokas hadas, and cleaving deeply with das, which I also need to discuss, meir ha'oir ha'oleki b'nafshe, there is the oir oleki actually illuminating in his nefesh. This is not a remote knowledge. This is the actual oir oleki, so to speak, that brightens up his nefesh. V'nid b'kol nafshoy boy, and his nefesh it connects to this oir oleki. This is the power of his bonus, Amokas Das, which we discussed when we first learned it over here, where his bonus means that you enter in on an internal basis. His bonus is not knowing something externally, no matter how thoroughly you know it. That's what I call his bonus. It's called learning. His bonus means that you are reflecting, once you are inside, reflecting on what it is that you are observing. Like in the simple example, right, you stand outside the shul and you can know everything about the shul. That's called learning about it. What's in the shul? In the shul there's a Noren Kodesh, and Noren Kodesh is a Torah, there's a Bima, there's an Omud, there are seats, and there's a Chazan, and there's people who are davening, and there's a Rav, a shul. You can know everything about the shul. Then you come inside. When you come inside, you don't study what's in the shul. You see what's in the shul. You are in it. When you are in it, then you have the opportunity of actually experiencing it through his bonus. We don't mean experiencing it just by being spiritually affected. His bonus, which is seichel. What is really going on here? That brings what's called the oir leki b'nafshay. But it's no longer something that you know as an acquired knowledge, but you have the oir leki right inside yourself. Just like Chayus, life. It's Rahman al-Islam. We today have the mashalim for everything. The way the scientists say what life is, it's a lifeless life. You're feigning living. You're acting as if you're alive. You're not really experiencing the life. Living with life. You're talking about this is what Gili Alakus Banasha, you're actually living with it. Because you have it. Because you have opened your mind. The mind is the key, is the opening through which everything enters into your consciousness, into your body. And you're actually focusing on the life element. And then the life element, life itself. Just like what happens, he's saying that Seichel brings about midas. We always explain there's a difference between the begein of the Seichel and the etzem HaSeichel. The begein of the Seichel is when the midas are superimposed at forcing. This is how you should act. That's Chitzenius. The real pnimis is when the Seichel that brings oir eleki, chayas hanefesh, and that automatically is reflected in your midas, in how you act. Let's speak on a simple.
Did you say automatically?
Yeah, automatically, because the oir eleki actually is imbued in you. You're living it with it. You're living with the oir eleki. Good. We'll digest it a little more and closer to ourselves in an emotional form. But the emotional is not far from the nimshal. This is the reality of it in our own lives. There is, on a very simple level, we always speak about acting like a human being. Sitting by the table and eating. What can be simpler than that? You can be sitting by the table and eating because this is convenient, because it looks right, or because this is a human experience. This is a human thing. This is respecting godly creation are called the human being. I recognize it. He said, what is the primary human desire? To be a human being. Why? Because that's what Hashem, that's the highest personal experience of godliness. On a simple level.
Human, generally we're talking like in the sense of Adama Ba'Elyon. Like I resemble.
This Inyan, please try to understand this. This Inyan, that a human being cannot eat just because he has food, he stuffs food into his mouth. But there's a proper approach, preparation, and a proper decency, sense of decency. That if he stuffs his mouth, he says, yeah, he's got the food, but that's not human. Why is it not human? Because this has been done by his physical desire for food, it wasn't processed by his mind. A human, Adam al-Elyon means that everything has to go through the Seder Hishtalshelus. What's the Seder Hishtalshelus? Mind first and then heart. Everything has to be done in the right way. The mind says that there is a bite. A bite does not mean to fill your mouth. A bite means a bite that you can chew up in a healthy way. It's meant to bite. There you can eat without losing your mind. To put it simple.
Relate to one bite at a time.
You're not. There is the reverse of it. When you relate to one bite at a time, then you become too much into the shuv and you start going back to the rotz. This is what we're going to finish. Yeah. But essentially, he actually senses the human element in the bite. But then it becomes so much recognized in the bite that he says, okay, let's go back and see what is the human element in this. Because he's losing it. And that's where the rotzu comes back again.
But I understand. If he's focused in on the human element of the experience of eating, human, where does he lose it? Where does it become too much shuv, too much kelim, where he has to go back?
This bite has two elements in it. It's convenient and it's human. Once he gets into it, it becomes convenient. When it becomes convenient, then he says, "Oh, that's not what I meant."
So it'll always descend to like a sort of disconnected from the source at a certain point.
Yeah, sort of, right? Because it's mislavish. And it went through his seichel. How does that reflect the human element? This is what happened. How the cursed Germans, they have such a proper manner, and they're not human. What happened? They're not human. They're animals. Wasn't animals. They lost their connection to that reality. What is this about?
Then you said that he seeks the human element. Then he then what does he do? He seeks.
Then
the
he
human
wants to go back to the oil element. No, he wants to forget about the Metzias. He wants to go back to the oil, to the rotza, to the liquors.
And in the mashal, what would that be?
In the mashal, that would be mamish in the mashal. So, hey, what happens actually? What happens like the youth rebelled? He says, we don't want it. We don't want it.
In the proper manner, isn't it?
It's not. Yeah, it's not real. If it's emphasized here, it's not real. Keep track of time, like we said, a clock on the wall, that's a sign of a human. But to keep track of time to the second like that, and that the whole human being is being straitjacketed in this time, then he loses his human element altogether. And he no longer lives with life. This is what happened to them. Many journalists will tell you, Second World War, we cannot be accused of it. We were obeying what we were told. Aren't you supposed to obey your elders?
Just following the clock. They're following the clock. Like, okay, what do we?
The Torah says, your father tells you to do something against the Torah. You must not listen to him. But my father. Your father's authority is, he gets it from me. If you lose that, then you lose the whole thing.
Why is it that we always start in time in 770? The Rebbe's Minyan. They say Be'erech Tzena Zeger, and they around time, and they start exactly the time.
Yeah, because starting exactly, and because that is the right way a human being should be. It should start exactly in time. It doesn't start to the second. Okay, this is it for this morning. Here's your. I don't know if anybody's on it.
Anyone on? Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Special effects. Tower came tumbling down. Okay.
you stopped announcing people coming in.
Yeah.